We will now begin this section of our program by having you introduce yourselves. Let's start with Mr. Frank Reaves, Jr.
All right,
And you will have 2 minutes, my
name is Frank Reaves, Jr. I was born July the 12th, 1952 in Falk Hill County. At the time, Culpeper didn't have a hospital. As soon as I was born, Falk Hill sent me straight back to Culpeper. So I've been in Culpeper ever since 1952. I went to school, all the schools in Culpeper. I started out with A.G. Richardson. I played in the band at A.G. Richardson. I went to Carver 1 year. I played in the band at Carver. From Carver, I went to Floyd T. Benz. I played football, baseball, and I also played in the band at Floyd T. Benz. 1970, Culpeper High School was first built. It was built. Our class was the first class to graduate from that school. Completion of graduation, I went to work with a factory called Old Million Manufacturing Company. We made bodies for garbage trucks. From there, I went to work with the Department of Corrections. From the Department of Corrections, I retired in 2002. While working at the Department of Corrections, I caught 2 inmates that escaped. Also, I saved an inmate life that had hung himself. The sheriff department, one day, I was working at the front door. I was working in the courts. One of the officers got choked on a piece of frozen broccoli, and I did the Heimlich maneuver on him and brought him back to life. I also went to school at Germanna, the one on Route 3. From Germanna, I started working part-time at the Sheriff Town PD, and some of my goals are to collaborate with the county and town to ensure that all of the kids have access to the fields and all. Work with community agents to increase access to resource that promotes mental health and social wellness for all youth and adults. Continue working with staff and council to eliminate debts and taxes in a fiscal responsibility way that will maintain amenities that we as citizens enjoy.
Thank you, Mr. Reaves. Mr.
Boost
Russell.
terrorism through economic development to bring business to town. Help minimize barriers for affordable housing.
Mr. Reaves, 2
Find
minutes.
new ways to bring in activities and business that would focus on children and families.
2 minutes is over. Mr. Russell.
I want to thank the Chamber for this opportunity to come here and speak to you and to the citizens that are watching on television and online. Appreciate the opportunity in offering this to them. My name is John Russell. I have served as your town councilman for the last 7 years, finishing up my last term in office this year. I'm married. I've been married to my wife, Sarah Russell, for 19 years. We have 4 children, Jonathan, Emma, Judah, and Eve. I'm a small business owner. I have a consulting firm. I work on public policy in regards to healthcare transparency. I work with state legislatures across the country on pharmaceutical and procedure transparency pricing issues. I also help my wife in her business. She has started a medical clinic here in town, and so helping her get off the ground as well. I also have a side business. I work at rodeos and sell cowboy hats. It's become kind of a passion of mine. So entrepreneurship is really at the heart of who I am. But really, it's not about the me, it's about the we. It's about Culpeper. Culpeper is a great place to live because of our small businesses, our churches, and our families. We have everything from fine dining in our downtown, also to equestrian sports out in the countryside, as well as distilleries and wineries. These are the things, these are why people come here to live, to visit. And those are the things that I want to promote as your next mayor. Thank you.
Thank you. First question, and this is addressed to both of you, but we will start with Mr. Reaves. what do you feel is the appropriate amount of community engagement for someone elected to this position? How do you plan to involve residents in the decision-making process in our town?
All right. For number one, I'd like to educate the public on local government processes, collaborate, communicate with various organizations, and stay aware of what programs exist in the community to stay informed of barrier gaps and needs. Education and volunteer opportunities that do not require running for office. Your own volunteer involvement. I'm involved in SAFE, SAFE is for abusive families. Also, we have 11 different committees on the town council that people can volunteer for, and you do not have to be a council member. This way, you can get involved in the town procedures and all, and see how things run. And what you do is you put in an application, and we'll vote on you. And then once we voted on, and you stay on there for a certain period of time. But we always ask people, you still can come to the meetings and all. We would love to see everybody at our meetings, whether you're on the committee or not. Because without the public, we can't run. We, the people of the town council, we work for the public, not ourselves. So every input that the public puts in helps us, Don't stay home. Come out and let us know what you want. We don't know what you want,
Thank you. Mr. Russell?
Thanks. The beautiful thing about our democratic republic is in order to run for office for most seats, you just have to be 18 years old and a registered voter. And that allows anyone to run and to be a part of the process, and I think that that's a good thing. Moving forward, let's look back. One of the things that I did early on when I first moved here was to help change the town election from May to November. The reason that was important was because we had 700 people making decisions for 16,000 people. It was not equitable. And so we ran the yes vote for a referendum, brought people together, and it passed with over 85% of the vote. That was a mandate. One of the things I've done on council to help give people greater access to government and the ability to speak, prior to coming on council, if you were to come to a committee of any kind, you would not, it'd be up to the chairman on whether or not you got to speak in front of that committee. So we changed the rules for that, and now every council meeting, committee meeting is open to the public. They always have a right to speak. And that's a very important aspect to participating in our local government. And we need to find ways to do that. We have our community boards and associations and different things that people can get involved with that the council appoints. And that's an opportunity for people to serve. We have vacancies. Please go look on our town website and find those vacancies and figure out where you can plug in.
Thank you. Next question. If elected, what 3 steps would you take to put our town on a firmer financial footing? Would you like me to repeat that?
Yes, ma'am. I can hear you.
If elected, what 3 steps would you take to put our town on a firmer financial footing?
I'm still not picking up good.
Financial footing. What 3 steps would you take to put the town on a firmer financial footing for better financial?
3 steps to keep the town.
Oh. 3 steps to keep the town going. Well, number one, try to use the money as fair as possible, Don't spend a whole lot of, unnecessary money and taxes and stuff. Make sure we try to lower them if possible, but if not, we can't do it. And to try to get the morale up on the people and all, make sure we're paying at a good rate to keep good employees and all.
Thank you. Mr. Russell.
Of course, I want to know that.
Great, thank you. So we are already moving somewhat in the right direction with working to paying off our debt by 2032. A lot of that, we would do it a lot faster if we could, but some of those were obligated to those particular bonds and whatnot to wait to pay those off. So that's the first thing. Once we pay off our debt, then we're pay as you go. We have no overhead. We have nothing hanging over us. It's a really important, crucial step for us. And I think it puts Culpeper as a leader in the Commonwealth, because not a lot of towns can say that. The other thing that we need to be looking for, however you feel about marijuana, the state has now moving towards legalization and being able to sell it to the public. And so within the next 2 years, there's going to be a framework developed where that money is going to start coming into the town. I think we need to start preparing for that when that money does come in and finding a home for it, giving it a name, and saying this is where that money is going to go to fund. And then I think the third thing is our police. We're entering a really interesting time where a lot of people are leaving the larger cities, a lot of the police officers are, or they're leaving the profession altogether. So how do we make sure that our police force is able to keep pace with our size? You know, our 2020 census just came back. We're now over 20,000 people. That's going to require more out of our first responders, and so that's a huge part of us moving forward. Thank you.
Thank you. And the last question. What do you see as the biggest areas of need in our community, and what actions will you take to improve those areas?
Well, the biggest thing I see that we need is affordable housing. We have lost a lot of our young kids because of not having affordable houses. Also, something else that I would like to see too is these drug classes. You know, we need to get our kids and the families and stuff on these drugs and stuff. And just like I say, safe. Another thing, we need to let families enough know what's going on in the community so this stuff can be stopped, you know.
Thank you. Mr. Russell?
So there are some more, probably some real immediate needs. One of those is senior housing. Right now we have a lot of senior citizens. We're on the back end of the silver wave as people are retiring, the baby boom generation, and as we see, you know, we have some of the newer, you know, buildings being built on the outside of town. But having something in town for more of our seniors, senior housing, more affordable in that regard, I think is going to be crucial. It's low impact. They don't have impact on our schools. The transportation impact is low. And I think that that's going to be something moving forward that we need to address. The other issue is flexibility in how we do housing. Right now, that we have roughly about 150 people who are homeless in Culpeper. And in order to meet those needs, we're going to have to figure out something in regards to housing. And we also have a really tight rental market where there's people can't afford a lot of the rents that are being charged right now because there's not a lot of supply. So one of the things that we need to do is to have more flexibility in our zoning, in our land use, which will allow people to turn detached garages into apartments, mother-in-law complexes, if you will, and also for tiny home clusters. We have enough available land, that 1 or 2 acres that are put around the town, in which those clusters can go and provide small homes for people, but also for the homeless as well. You know, there's a big need for that, and you know, just throwing money at it and saying, you know, we're doing great things for them is not enough. We're going to have to figure out a way to get those people that need help, that can live in, you know, sustainably in their own home. Thank you.
Thank you. You will now be asked to give us a closing statement, and each of you will be assigned 2 minutes to give your closing statement.
Want me to go
Start
first?
now.
When elected, I will continue to do my job as I have been done before. I work close with the police departments, the sheriff department, town police. I do a lot of volunteer work in the community. I'm always there for people. I will not disrespect anyone. It's just the way I am. I'll help anyone. I don't care who you are. You can call me right now and say, Frank, I need you at my house. I'll be right there to help you. The chamber, safe, all these places. NAACP, I have volunteered my life to the community ever since I've been in Culpeper, and I never will stop, you know. That's just the type of person that I am. It's a thing been going around now about the good old boys, which I really don't know what the good old boys are. I'm a workhorse, not a show horse.
Thank you, Mr. Reeves. Mr. Russell?
Thank you. We have a lot of challenges that lay ahead of us in our town as we move forward and more people come here, and the people that have been here as well. We have to find a way forward on issues of our police, making sure that we've got the manpower we need, because it's going to get really competitive really quick. The second thing we need to look at also moving forward is how do we create a culture of protecting our identity. One of the things, Culpeper, I want to protect our small town identity, but at the same time, we have to provide modern amenities for our citizens. And so how do we bring in those things that the people need, but also safeguard so we don't have cheap development coming in and uncontrolled growth like we've had in the past, but that we do it thoughtfully. And so moving forward in this, in the next 4 years as your mayor, my job is to shepherd this thing and to work with the council to be able to make sure that we preserve our small town identity, and as well as do things for our children and our youth and our families, and more, whether those are family-friendly businesses, more of those coming in, or even, we've got the new Southside Rec Center that's going to be put down there by the DMV. That's going to be a great opportunity for our youth. So, we have a lot of rebuilding to do after COVID and kind of the train wreck we had with the government shutdowns of all the businesses. So now it's time to rebuild, and it's time to have leadership that can move us forward. Thank you.
Gentlemen, thank you so much. We appreciate you sharing your insights and your great potential, and I wish you the very best. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you.